Hi, everybody. I'm Olivia Asst, Assistant Professor of Advertising at Loyola University, New Orleans, and founder of Emerge Alliance's marketing consultancy. And I'm here today with a fun episode of Behind the Ad. By now, you know that we like to peel the layers of the advertising and marketing onion back. But today, we're actually talking about real onions in this episode. That's right. Given that Loyola is a school in the Big Easy, also known as New Orleans, we must dedicate at least one Behind the Ad episode to food, right? Well, that time is now. Joining us today as we celebrate Women's History Month is the phenomenal woman who I'm so honored to know. She's a star amongst the restaurant elite, Senior Vice President of esteemed Ralph Brennan Restaurant Group, Charlee Williamson. For every milestone and opening of a new Ralph Brennan brand, concept, or restaurant, Charlee has been and continues to be the strategic marketing mastermind of a talented team. She's also instrumental in building the private event sales teams of each restaurant. Let me expound just for a moment about this amazing woman who's with us today. Charlee is the group's pioneering marketing manager, which means she's the very first one, having started with Bacco and Mr. B's Bistro. She then expanded her wings with Redfish Grill on Bourbon Street, Jazz Kitchen at Disneyland, and Ralph's on the Park at City Park. Charlee also helped launch the Heritage Grill, Cafe B, Cafe Noma at the New Orleans Museum of Art, and Ralph Brennan Catering and Events. And she also helped relaunch Brennan's, the iconic New Orleans restaurant, and the year after, Napoleon House, a French Quarter cafe and bar, which is renowned for its historic charm and refreshing Pim's Cup cocktails. Charlee also has had her hand in publishing as well. Charlee produced the acclaimed Ralph Brennan's New Orleans Seafood Cookbook, which was named Best Cookbook of 2008 by New Orleans Magazine and a top 10 cookbook by both the Chicago Tribune and the Los Angeles Examiner. She's still very much actively involved alongside Ralph Brennan in all facets of each business, ensuring to carry out the restaurant group's mission of making people happy and enjoying it while she's at it. Outside of her role with the restaurant group, Charlee has served as part of the board of directors of 5 organizations and is a wife and mother of twins. And with everything else that she's accomplished and continues to do so, you could agree, and you might agree with me, that Charlee is more than deserving to be awarded Woman of the Year by New Orleans City Business Magazine, hence our celebration of her during Women's History Month. So here to have a conversation with us about how restaurants create long-lasting relationships with customers, my friends, Charlee Williamson. Charlee, how are you today?
Hi, Olivia. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's so wonderful. You are such an accomplished and esteemed woman. It is an honor and a privilege to be in your presence. So thank you for making time.
Likewise. Thank you.
All right, so let's start. What role do customers play in building long-lasting relationships with a restaurant?
You know, that's such an important question because every restaurant, when you essentially give birth to it, right, you have a vision of what it could be, what you hope it will be, and then you put it out into the world. In a sense, you've made a bunch of assumptions. And some are going to be right and some are not going to be right. But you know who tells you which assumptions work? It's the customer. So in a sense, everything we do is for the customer. We like to call them guests. We have a host mentality, welcoming them into our restaurant. But think about a chair, for instance. Simple chair. You would think it would be very easy to go to market and get a chair. But the questions that you ask yourself, is it wide enough? Is it tall enough? Is it sturdy enough? Does it look good? You're not looking at your own personal opinion. You're thinking about it from the guest perspective.
Yes.
And every decision we make filters through that perspective. And the last thing I'll say about the importance of customers to the operation is you have to be able to evolve and innovate because you are not the same person as a customer today than you will be if it's in 2 years from now. So as you move forward personally and professionally in your life, we have to move forward to stay relevant and meet the market where it is.
And you all have done such an incredible job. I mean, for those who are not familiar, which I can't imagine, it's like 1% of people who don't know, have not heard the term Brennan's Restaurant Group. You guys are
Sure.
internationally renowned. So when you guys determine what a long-lasting relationship looks like with a customer, what does that look like? What does a good long-lasting relationship look like with your customers?
You know, in New Orleans, locally, it can be generational. And that
Ooh.
is very exciting. You know, a restaurant like Brennan's, which has been around since the 40s, you know, it's grandmothers and mothers and daughters who have now had a Brennan's experience. Ralph's on the Park, it's celebrating 20 years at the end of this year. We are just getting to that second generation. And I remember that was a milestone for us, is we need to create traditions and opportunity for folks to celebrate in our restaurant, because then their children will start coming and their children will come. And it's really special to see that experience passed down.
I'm sure. No, I don't think we have a lot of restaurants that have been around since the 40s. And that speaks so highly to your success. If you think, Charlee, about what have been the key elements of your success as a restaurant and a restaurant group, what would you say those are?
Well, it's about people. We're in the people business, is what we say. And our motto, as you mentioned earlier, is to make people happy, but also enjoy the thrill of doing so. That goes both ways. So you have to start with great people. We are creating an experience every day. It's not just food. It's not just service. It's not just hospitality. How do you knit those pieces of the experience together and give every single person coming through the door a very personal experience? To do what we do for 50 people or 500 people or even 5,000 people, you have to have good systems and processes. But then you have to figure out, how do you personalize it? And we do it in a few ways. You say yes. We try to get to yes. Everything that we do is about saying yes. Recently, we had a guest who wanted a certain type of beer, which we didn't carry at Brennan's, but the server knew we served it at Napoleon House just a block away. On his own, he takes the initiative and says, I'll be right back, leaves the building, gets the beer, and comes back with it to serve it. He was personalizing the experience for that guest, and that's extremely important. We were very proud about that. Also, we think about the experience beginning online and extending beyond the table, because so often our guests who come into our restaurant these days they are checking us out before they even come to our doorstep.
Yep.
And so are we making it easy for them to make a reservation? Or is it easy for them to see our menu and by meal period and their pricing? Are we making it easy for them to understand what the dress code is or how to park? Like, those are very important details that make our guests comfortable before they even walk in the door. In a sense, it's hospitality.
Right. So you're in the hospitality industry, not just the
100%.
food industry.
100%. Yes.
Because that's it. You know, winning a customer's loyalty and brand love, those are so critical to a success. So it sounds like for you, it's all about getting to know your customers, listening to them, paying attention to them, and then serving them.
Yes. And I'll also add, you need to show appreciation, right?
Yes.
We have to let folks know that not only do we know who they are, but we appreciate that they've chosen our business to spend their hard-earned money or mark their very important milestone. And there are lots of ways you can appreciate. The chef can come to the table and say hello. You can acknowledge that it's not their first time this month. You can bring a little treat from the kitchen on their birthday. You can put an apron on them and a silly hat and sing happy birthday. But people want to be seen.
Yes,
they want to
do.
belong. And it's very important for us to do that. The other thing I would share with you on that is some of our restaurants are in neighborhoods, and it's very important, critically important, to get to know the neighborhood. Ralph's on the Park is in Mid-City. You have Gentilly, you have Mid-City, you have Old Metairie, kind of in that vicinity. And it's very important right now to our guests that not only is our hospitality happening at the table, but it's happening beyond the table. Are we being good corporate citizens, but good citizens in general, and supporting the many people who have supported us over the years?
Are there any things that you should definitely avoid that you know that might create a bad experience for customers and you would absolutely immediately lose their brand loyalty because you did them?
Slow food, cold food, slow service, inattentive service.
It's the opposite of everything you just said.
You know, late to be seated, you know, somebody doesn't come in and we're short staffed. I mean, the list is endless because it's a people business. But it's not what happens, it's what you do about it, how you recover. Never let them see you sweat is not always true, right? Because essentially the guest wants acknowledgement. They want to know. You can't just pretend the food's going to be 45, that the food is not coming to the table 20 minutes later than it should be. Go to the table, say, we know we're running behind. We apologize. Here is a little lanyap to tide you over. Can we get you another drink? But the worst thing that you can do is put your head in the sand and hide from a mistake you've made. Own it and move on.
That's just like life experience. That's like life wisdom to share,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, Charlee, you are extremely accomplished. You have been named Woman of the Year, right? Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Can you tell us more about you? How did you get into this industry? Why did you want to work in the people industry?
My first job was at TCBY Yogurt.
Yes.
So
Baskin Robbins.
yes.
Carry on.
Okay. See, I love it. Yes. Froyo. And it's in your blood. For a lot of the folks that work with us, they would tell you, even people who come into the industry and leave, you're called to serve, but it's not of service. It's not serving. It's being of service.
Yes.
And you have to really take that pride and pleasure in being a part of something that's bigger than the functional job you do every day. That's something we preach to our team. It's, yes, your job may be to do X, Y, or Z, but we are all one team and we all create this experience. And you very much have to buy into that philosophy to stay in our business, because it's not an easy business, particularly of late.
Yes.
But it is so joyful to stand at the front door and watch people come in happy and anticipatory and then leave satiated and with memories that really could last a lifetime.
So that brings you joy.
So much joy. Yes.
You spoke of lately, right? We all have been through this pandemic. Brennan's came out doing lovely. Can you just share anything top line that you guys did to innovate during that time and stay alive?
Oh my goodness.
A couple of things, maybe.
Yes. So, there were some things that we weren't brave enough to do operationally before the pandemic that we're doing now. In some instances, we were open for lunch in markets where maybe lunch wasn't the best idea for that restaurant. So in a sense, we've compressed hours and our staff is happier for it, and the business is actually more profitable for it.
Nice.
In other areas, we had a distinct lunch and dinner menu, and the pandemic forced us into what we would call an all-day menu with maybe an insert for sandwiches, and that also has been a good move from a business perspective, but also it's easier for the staff to come in. It's the guests know their favorite thing is on the menu, no matter whether they come at lunch or dinner. So those were some of the things. We also got into the box business, right? And that was essentially because we wanted to meet the market where it was, and people were tired of eating out of their pantry and out of the grocery stores. And so we dabbled in that business. And, at the end of the day, what we'd rather do is welcome people to our tables and let them make memories. And then, doing the box thing was something we tried, but didn't work.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. You're innovating. You have to try it.
You do.
So you're a marketer through and through. Senior Vice President of Marketing. Let's be very, very clear.
Sure.
People. Senior Vice President of Marketing. So restaurant marketing, what have you found to be the most successful marketing and advertising tactics for restaurants?
Social media has changed everything for us. For one thing, it has leveled the playing field. You used to have a big budget to go buy billboards at the airport or buy print ads or get on TV. Now, so many of our market, particularly as we talked about generational marketing, the next generations, right? The millennials and Gen Z and so on, you'll know better than me what percentage of their information comes from their smartphone.
98%.
Okay. So
I made that up.
I might have said 100, but I have two 13-year-olds. But we need to be there, right? And we need to pick our lanes and pick our platforms where we can be effective and get our message to our market. But in restaurants, we have such a visual product, right? I mean, we can make you hungry when you're not hungry. And we can also talk about the good work that we do at and away from the table. And so social media is a game changer, and you absolutely have to be there. But that also leads into kind of just being a good corporate citizen, cause marketing, social responsibility. Today's customer wants to know what you are doing as a restaurant to make the community a better place to work, to live, and to dine in.
Gotcha.
And so it's very important that we've been doing this for 30 years, being a good corporate citizen, supporting nonprofits. They're the experts. They're the ones who need to do the work, right? Let us do what we do best, which is serve food, welcome people in, make memories. But then how can we use those skills to leverage the good work that nonprofits are doing to either solve community problems or amplify the good work that's being done to support the community? So, it hasn't always been that way, right? It used to be about billboards and about transactional marketing. It's now much more about branding.
Yep.
All the touch points where the consumer might reach you, and making sure that you stay in your lane and that you keep that message tight and people understand who you are, what you stand for, and they will find you.
Do you have anybody monitoring the reviews?
Oh, absolutely. So the online reputational marketing is critically important to us. We do use a platform that we measure at regular intervals.
Yep.
And we understand what people are saying about our food and our service and our hospitality, about the ambiance in the restaurant. And we're able to measure those scores over time. It's tricky because you'll get these one-off comments and they'll send everybody into a tailspin, but you have to pay attention to the trends, right? But the one-offs can be super interesting. I'll give you an example of one we got last week that kind of blew my mind. It was for Napoleon House. And Napoleon House, historic building. It's table service, but it's super casual. It's a all-day menu. Muffaladas and pimp cups, you mentioned at the intro.
Yep.
But the comment was that the food between the order and when the food hit the table was 5 minutes. And therefore, the guest said there was no way it could be fresh. It came to the table too fast. And so even though we've only seen that one time, someone complaining about too good of service.
Right.
It allowed our marketing department to step back and say, it's only one person who said it. However, where can we infuse a message that our food is fresh, that it is made daily, that we do bake our own bread? Because just because we have good systems and a good process to get the food to the table quickly, it didn't mean that it was connecting to the guest, that it was necessarily the freshest food available. So,
which leads me to another question. My questions beget questions, and we're almost rounding down here. But you had a cookbook, right, that you guys published, and you produced that book. Would you consider that to be like long tail content marketing for the restaurant?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We did it back in 2008. We started it before Katrina, so a familiar touchstone for everybody here in this market. It took 4 years because of Katrina to bring it to market. But those recipes live on. It's a celebration of Gulf seafood. And it's the common thread throughout each of our restaurants. So it's not a restaurant cookbook. It's celebrating this wonderful bounty that we're so lucky to live adjacent to. And when you look at the recipe pages on our websites, they're one of the most highest trafficked pages. People want recipes from credible sources.
Yes.
And we can be that for them online. So yes, those recipes live on, and I make those recipes. I love our gumbo recipe. I love our lemon pie recipe because, what do you finish a seafood meal with? A delicious lemon pie. But cocktail sauce, remoulade sauce.
Okay.
And then the great thing about the book is there's lots of tips and techniques about how to prepare seafood, because many people don't do it at home, right? And it's intimidating. You see a crawfish and you don't know what to do with it.
Right.
Or shrimp. And so this allows people to really understand what's happening there.
Thank you so much. My final question really goes back to what you were saying before about the fact that it's not so much about push marketing, right? Because we're talking about restaurant marketing. And so it's not so much about having ads on billboards or radio or print. It really is about the customer. The customer is your biggest advertising vessel for you.
Correct.
So what do you think, as we close, about the saying, the customer is always right? Do you believe that? Yes or no?
I would say I have yes and.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say there's right or wrong. It's how do you get to yes? So how do you create an experience that is not just satisfactory but beyond for the guest? But the second thing is the customer is always right, except when it comes to how our staff is treated.
Ooh.
And that is the most important thing, because there is no scenario in which the customer can be right when our staff is either devalued or disrespected. That doesn't fly.
Good.
And so that's a hard line.
Okay.
But it is our belief that we are in business to create experiences and memories for our guests, and anything that they want to move that process forward, that's within our ability, we will say yes to.
Thank you so much, Charlee. Before you joined, I hadn't thought about how much this is about servant leadership and about service. This is really an organization that has thrived because you really care about serving. That's the world you're in. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. For everyone who joined us today, it has been an honor to be in conversation with Woman of the Year, SVP of the Brennan Restaurant Group, Charlee Williamson. Continue to support this restaurant group. I'm sure that you are. We'll see you at the next episode.